So good to have you. How are you? How are you doing out there on the campaign trail?
Oh, come on.
Oh, I'm doing great. Actually, 2 or 3 people occasionally show up to listen to me. Oh, son of a bitch. Well, let me tell you something. Come on, man. As I said, introducing Patrick, the only uncharted person, totally uncharted portion of the universe is the brain. You know, I had 2 cranial aneurysms, and they literally had to take the top of my head off. I mean, they take a saw and they cut your head off and go in to find the artery. And one was leaking, the other that hadn't before it burst. I said, it's just an absolutely true story. I said, what are my chances of getting off this table and being completely normal? He said, well, your chances of living are a lot better. And I thought, why in the hell didn't they tell me this before the '88 campaign? It could have saved us all a lot of trouble, you know what I mean? I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again. I've done some dumb things as a senator, done some dumb things as a lawyer.
If you watch the ads, I'm sure you've seen them, although a lot of Pennsylvanians are seeing them because there's a lot of ads out there right now. They would say that you want to defund the police, and
but do we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes.
It seems to be trying to frighten some folks. Can you set the record straight on that?
I not only don't want to defund the police, I'm the one calling for $300 million more for local police, for community policing. I also think we should add social workers and psychologists to help police on 911 calls. The only person calling to defund the police is Donald Trump. The only person calling to defund the police is Donald Trump. Once again, he's pathological.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been dumb. Did something very stupid.
Joe Biden is a dummy.
The breaking news, as we've just reported, the National Association of Police Organizations endorsing President Trump. And remember, this organization endorsed President Obama, Vice President Biden in 2008, 2012. They didn't make an endorsement in 2016.
Police Benevolent Association, representing around 24,000 New York City police officers, made the announcement from Trump's golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey.
The largest police union in Florida, now endorsing a candidate for the first time in 8 years. It's Donald Trump over Joe Biden.
I don't talk about Donald Trump. Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists?
The president today made his strongest denunciation yet of white supremacy.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists. I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. How many times do I have to reject? I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. From the time I'm 5 years old, I rejected them. You wouldn't even condemn David Duke, for God's sake. The former Grand Kleagle.
I disavowed David Duke. So I've disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough.
President Trump denounced white supremacy today.
One voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. When I put out that I reject the KKK and David Duke, nobody picks it up. You know why they're not? Because they don't want to pick it up. Are you ready before you ask the question? Rebuked. Is that okay? Rebuked.
Rebuked.
Done.
Done.
Okay.
What do you make of this whole disavowing David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan?
I don't think this is going to last very long.
You having a good time, Joe? Are you having a good time?
Those folks coming out of the fields in Charlottesville carrying torches and their veins bulging and carrying Nazi flags. Coming out of fields with lighted torches.
spewing hate and their veins bulging.
Veins bulging.
Carrying swastikas and white supremacists.
Close your eyes.
People coming out of the woods carrying torches, their veins bulging. Close your eyes and remember what you saw.
Those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists. He said there were some very fine people in both groups. He said there were very fine people on both sides. He said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides.
That were very fine people on both sides.
There were very good people on both sides. Come on. Come on.
Are you going to allow the media to lie to you by falsely claiming that he said there were very fine white supremacists in Charlottesville? He didn't say that. It's a lie.
Their veins bulging.
He said specifically that he was condemning them.
No, he did not. He said he walked out and he said, let's get this straight.
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
He said specifically that he was condemning them.
No, he did not.
Because they should be condemned totally.
He said there were very fine people in both groups. They're chanting anti-Semitic slogans.
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists.
Because they should be condemned totally.
President did condemn neo-Nazis and white supremacists. So he's not saying that the neo-Nazis and white supremacists are very fine people.
Again, I wasn't going to sit there and, and let all these assertions go by that just simply were not accurate.
What Biden said, that the president called white supremacists fine people. Is that what really happened?
That's exactly not what happened. And you can go and you can look up the full speech of what Trump said. He specifically said, I am not speaking about white supremacists or Nazis.
What did he say when asked? He said there were good people, some good people, on both sides.
So do you think reviving a 3-year-old incident to push a lie that pits race against race is healthy for America? Biden is bumbling America toward a race war. He pushes a sick lie that puts millions in harm's way while not lifting a finger to stop a national crime wave. It's a dark message that the media pretends is airy and light.
The senator made a very moving and eloquent speech as a son of the Confederacy, acknowledging that it was time to change and yield to a position that Senator Carol Moseley Braun raised on the floor of the Senate, not granting a federal charter to a organization made up of many fine people.
Made up of many fine people.
To a organization made up of many fine people who continue to display the Confederate flag as a symbol, and the charter was to give them the right, the imperator of the federal government. I don't talk about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not fit to be the job of president, to be the commander-in-chief. The president reportedly said that those who sign up to serve instead of doing something more lucrative are suckers.
Bullshit.
If these statements are true, the president should humbly apologize to every Gold Star mother and father and every Blue Star family that he's denigrated and insulted. Who the heck does he think he is?
The editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, admits that the central claim of his hit piece could be wrong. 20 on-the-record sources have refuted Goldberg's claims, including John Bolton and others who were actually there at the time. But did the mainstream media report that Jeffrey Goldberg admitted the central claim of his hit piece was false? Nope, they barely mentioned it.
Biden's 12 minutes today in Pennsylvania may have been the most thoroughly dishonest speech ever given by an American presidential candidate. Virtually every word of it was the opposite of the truth. It was literally beyond belief.
We just learned from the Washington Post columnist Bob Woodward that the President of the United States has admitted on tape in February he knew about COVID-19 that had passed through the air. He knew how deadly it was. It was much more deadly than the flu. He knew and purposely played it down. But these things are called, there's a virus. And a virus is what we're dealing with now, a particularly lousy kind of virus. It's like flu on steroids. It's a really bad kind of flu. While this deadly disease ripped through our nation, he failed to do his job on purpose.
First of all, I was intrigued by his rhetoric in his speech.
He said the president failed to do his job on purpose. That is to say, the president wanted people to die, he wanted them to get sick, and he did it on purpose. He said this is a life and death betrayal.
It was a life and death betrayal of the American people. Experts say that if he had acted just 1 week sooner, 36,000 people would have been saved.
He had acted 1 week earlier, 36,000 lives would have been saved. The Washington Post said this was completely inaccurate. This was not accurate.
Let me ask you one more question, and I didn't realize you could hear me. At the Pentagon and the State Department, you already hear people doing what they almost always do in an instance like this. This is so sophisticated it must be Osama bin Laden. Maybe so, but is the United States too focused on one man?
The tendency in these circumstances is to be too focused on one man, one idea, one prospect. I think that we should be calm. Those of us who hold high public office, just calm down a little bit, collect our thoughts, collect the information in a methodical way.
Now, we had to show calm, and I don't want people to be frightened. I don't want to create panic, as you say, and certainly I'm not going to drive this country or the world into a frenzy. We want to show confidence. We want to show strength. We want to show strength as a nation.
I think that we should be calm. Those of us who hold high public office, just calm down a little bit, collect our thoughts, collect the information in a methodical way, analyze what we know happened and what we can derive from that.
But we don't want to instill panic. We don't want to jump up and down and start shouting that we have a problem that is a tremendous problem, scare everybody. And
the first thing is what the president is doing. He called for calm. He's getting in the airplane. He's coming back to Washington, D.C., and I applaud him for that.
But whether it was Woodward or anybody else, you cannot show a sense of panic or you're going to have bigger problems than you ever had before. Please.
The Democrats now say Trump wasted 2 months doing nothing. Really? Let's do a little fact check. You know, the kind they love over at CNN.
3 questions, but many more lies by President Trump, including when he talked about Hillary Clinton giving money to Andrew McCabe's wife. That is not an accurate description of what happened in that situation at all, and we could go on and on.
That was Jake Tapper immediately after a Trump press conference last week. Later in that same show, Joe Biden said this about Trump.
He waved a white flag. He walked away. He didn't do a damn thing. Think about it. Think about what he did not do. And it's almost criminal.
He didn't do a damn thing. Really? On January the 29th, the president set up the coronavirus task force to lead a coordinated federal response. On January the 31st, he banned travel from China. On February the 6th, he issued emergency rules on infection control throughout the nation's healthcare facilities. On February the 24th, he went to Congress for emergency funding. On February the 29th, he expanded travel restrictions. Days later, he ripped up the rule book to sort out the testing fiasco created by the bungling CDC. If the president hadn't got the private sector in at top speed, with Biden, we'd probably still be waiting on his precious government bureaucracy to get it done. Instead, we have by far the most tests in the world, and even on tests per population, we're second only to Denmark. Let's continue. On March the 13th, President Trump declared a national emergency just 48 hours after a global pandemic was declared. The same day, he imposed new restrictions to protect nursing homes. On March the 16th, the president mobilized the whole country against the virus. 15 days to slow the spread. That was before shutdowns were announced in the UK, in France, even New Zealand, which our media holds up as having the perfect response. On March the 17th, the president lifted restrictions on telemedicine to help protect seniors. On March the 18th, he invoked the Defense Production Act to make sure we didn't run out of hospital masks. We needed more PPE, so he launched Project Airbridge to fly in shipments of supplies in days instead of months. We needed more capacity, so within days, hospitals were built, ships were sent, in the end not even used. We needed ventilators, so the president again invoked the Defense Production Act to get them made here in America. Not a single person who needed a ventilator didn't get one, and now we're sending them to other countries. We needed effective treatments, so Trump secured more than 500,000 courses of remdesivir. Whatever we needed, Trump and his team got. And no, that is not Fox News, state TV propaganda. It's these guys.
The federal government stepped up and was a great partner, and I'm the first one to say it. We needed help, and they were there.
Conversation, commitment, promise made, promise kept.
What? Okay. And here was Jake Tapper's fact check on that blatant Biden lie.
He didn't do a damn thing. Think about it. Think about what he did not do. And it's almost criminal.
Woodward also reports that former Defense Secretary James Mattis said that Trump, quote, has no moral compass.
They won't tell you the facts, and that's why we're doing it here.
Joe Biden is a dummy. Joe Biden is a dummy. Joe Biden is a dummy.
You get nothing. Yeah, boy.
Joe Biden is a dummy.
You're a heartbreaker, dream maker, love taker. Don't you mess around with me. You're a heartbreaker.